President Harry S. Truman said in 1950 at a press conference, "I can assure you that flying saucers exist,
Misinformed.
are not constructed by any power on Earth." Those were his exact words at a press conference, because you see, in
They're not
1950,
constructed.
Truman still was walking the edge on whether this was going to come out, because the initial plan was that after the war, they would slowly but surely bring this technology out. But of course they didn't, because they're greed mongers. But Truman, operating under the assurances that eventually this was going to come out, he could talk about it. You see why this schism that was happening between the military industrial complex and the United States government was beginning to widen.
The secret government program to investigate UFO sightings.
It was especially focused on encounters by members of the military, like this one experienced by a U.S. Navy pilot off the coast of California.
There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA. My gosh.
Those are not weather balloons. Those are clearly autonomous aircraft of some kind that are, as you put it, swarming U.S. military craft. So there are two options.
Under intelligent control. These are craft under intelligent control, and they're flying with impunity, Tucker, within our airspace, and they can outmaneuver, outperform anything that we seem to have. We need to find out who's operating them and also what the intent is.
Welcome to Far Out with Faust, everyone. Believers versus Skeptics, episode 6. It's going down, and the truth about UFOs, also known as UAPs, UAPs. God, they have so many names.
This time we're flipping the script.
Nick Lerman, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, that's right, we getting skeptical. Ooh, it's not time to leave. I know that most of y'all believe, but come on, just change your mind for me. Skeptics.
Song is over. Just like your career, Chicho.
He made that for me.
I didn't make it for you. I made it for the truth.
That's right. That's
for the
me.
Very thing that's about to happen here today.
Yeah. Anyway, so this is a very special edition of Believers versus Skeptics, because tonight we're going to be shifting things a little bit, and because the discussion is going to be about what has been known as UFOs for the longest time. And the existence of, we're going to let Nick lead the charge in his presentation, and proving to me once and for all that UFOs are a product of many things except unidentified flying aircraft. Okay, so on that note, we're going to, I have some incredible discoveries to share with you guys. Some things I learned, in my preparation for this, whatever this is going to be. So stick around, and I promise you will be rewarded with some knowledge that even people who are, really knee deep in this rabbit hole maybe have not heard of. And on that note, Nick, tell me how we're having a discussion about the validity of UFOs when most of the world has come at least to terms with the fact that whatever is maybe driving them, they are in existence in physical reality here. Maybe we don't know what they are, but they are here.
Right. And that's coming into this discussion. That's honestly what I had thought at first too. And what's interesting, guys, is earlier in the week, I was asked by Faust here, like, hey, maybe we should, like, everyone knows UFOs are real. Like, we found these random wreckages of like metal things, and like, we haven't found the aliens maybe, but we found these things. And I'm like, no, because logically my brain was like, there's no way we even found those things. Because guys, think about it. Like, essentially, they're saying that we found some advanced technology that was situated in only our part of the world and no one really had intelligence on it. But all that aside, like, I said no. I took a different stance. And let me open it up with this, guys. Unidentified flying objects have really captured the heart of America, particularly like the middle of America in like the early 60s, the late 50s, when we started then getting into things like Roswell, Kinross, freaking Blue Book, freaking Magnet, freaking all these crazy experiments, freaking the blueprints for the government UFO flying saucer that this actual company, I think it was called Astracar, proposed, and it's a real blueprint for a UFO. But none of them have been made in my perspective. Like, all of these mysterious objects you guys believe in, they're just nothing but fairy tales. They're strategically created by a few key figures who have really great experience in marketing, in writing, in being journalists and authors, and in constructing narratives that make them millions of dollars. And we all have fun. Like, it's preying on our natural human curiosity to discover the unknown. And you, like, just thinking about it, yeah, you would think that we found something, but no, today I'm going to prove we haven't. The discussion is going to include my systematic breakdown of every single famous UFO incident in human history.
That would be impossible.
And anything else that Faust wants to throw at me from the realm of the unknown, from Roswell to Kinross to freaking the one found 300 light years away that we only know of because of beeps from a distant asteroid. I don't know.
Project Snowbird, Project Sign, Project Moondust and Blue Fly, Project Magnet, Project Grudge, Project Blue Book.
You sound like you're playing Magic the Gathering.
Few. Maybe just a few decades of government documentation that UFOs exist.
Sure.
You know, I mean,
granted,
the government doesn't have anything better to do than take our money and create fake projects to study fake phenomenon and then try to cover up fake phenomenon for decades on end. You're right. You're probably right. I mean, you make
no. And I'm not saying you're wrong, Faust. So there have been lots of government studies. There have been thousands of reports. But the thing is that, like, for one, I'm just blatantly just saying it immediately. Aliens may exist. I won't say they won't exist because I'm a numbers guy. I'm a logical guy. I think there's, what is it, like 100 billion stars out there, all the galaxies. There is a chance for sure of life existing in another galaxy. Has it visited Earth? Hell to the no. Not even close. There's no intelligence. And the thing is that, like, I'm gonna show you guys that everything that we know is definitely rooted in fact. But what this comes down to is it's like with just like a big variety of evidence along with just common sense, you guys are going to see by the end of this that UFOs don't exist. I mean, they exist in theory, like these objects that we don't understand. Maybe, but every incident in history is either like some farmer, like far away, is like, oh yeah, farmer saw a flashing light 400 meters from his farm. And the pilot goes there and he's like, oh shit, there was nothing there. No shit.
Some farmer. Huh?
Imagine they found aliens.
Farmer.
It doesn't happen because these are all civilian stories. All the UFO talk from the Pentagon, other government branches, like, it's just...
President Harry S. Truman said in 1950 at a press conference, "I can assure you that flying saucers exist."
Misinformed.
Are not constructed by any power on Earth. Those were his exact words at a press conference. Because you see, in 1950, Truman still was walking the edge on whether this was going to come out, because the initial plan was that after the war, they would slowly but surely bring this technology out. But of course they didn't, because they're greed mongers. But Truman, operating under the assurances that eventually this was going to come out, he could talk about it. You see why this schism that was happening between the military industrial complex and the United States government was beginning to widen. And it started before Truman, which I uncovered some awesome documents and facts that I really didn't know that answered a lot of questions for me. But what I want you guys also to notice, who, are on the believer side, is how someone, and Nick represents, a portion of the population. Granted, maybe it's more on the smaller side of the fringe, but there are many people I know, materialists, very intelligent, air quotes, logical folk who cannot wrap their minds around the metaphysical aspect of ETs and the way that they travel, and the fact that consciousness is involved in everything that they do. So you see that there's a disconnect between the intellect and the emotional and spiritual intelligence, but we're bridging that gap. Nick's a perfect case study of this. So
let's bring it back for just.
But you were just talking about farmers, Nick, and I just quoted the president.
I know. I just want to pull it all the way back, because I feel like we caught everyone in the middle of our discussion, and I myself don't really have a good idea right now of what is your perspective, just like plainly. What do you believe? Are these like random like drones that France was testing, they ended up in our territory, or do you think these are aliens and that we have made contact?
Okay, so let me just be as clear as I can about what I believe and what I've what I understand from a ton of research, and my own foray into all this. There is two kinds of disclosure happening now with this stuff you see on the news, and Luis Elizondo and the Tom DeLonge and Jeremy freaking, what's his name? God, the guy whose his pupils are this big and everything he does, he's like, all of a sudden, he's the one who made the documentary with Bob Lazar and busted out George Knapp. But then obviously the Pentagon, and they had a little talk with him because he was no longer pushing for disclosure. Now he is the spokesperson for the Pentagon. And he's the one who, quote, leaks information for the Pentagon with their little videos for their fighter pilots.
Those are not weather balloons. Those are clearly autonomous aircraft of some kind that are, as you put it, swarming U.S. military craft. So there are two options.
Under intelligent control. These are craft under intelligent control, and they're flying with impunity, Tucker, within our airspace, and they can outmaneuver, outperform anything that we seem to have. We need to find out who's operating them and also what the intent is.
But so what I understand, and what I firmly believe, is that the long-awaited disclosure that should have happened as far back as the 40s, but didn't because of the war and other excuses, it has finally begun. And so you went from decades of what we know to be misinformation, propaganda about people who have any interaction with UFOs and ETs. There was a concerted effort that I listed a bunch of projects for you a few seconds ago. All those projects had one objective, and that was to discredit and make people believe that if you're talking about UFOs and you're some redneck farmer who is probably eating too much of his pesticide mix, okay, and they did a really good job of propagandizing the entire world and getting people to think that if you mention UFOs or ETs, then you should be wearing a tinfoil hat and you're a conspiracy theorist. They did a great job of that. Those effects linger even today. Now, what they're doing right now is they're getting ready for their next big threat. So every time you turn on the news or you watch these congressional hearings, this dog and pony show that's happening, this is a very, they know that disclosure is going to happen. And so they're trying to control the narrative, and they want to use the narrative. This is a 60-year plan unfolding.
60 years?
They're going to say, and you'll hear this every time, that these UFO are a threat to our national security, that they're in our airspace, they're tampering with our nuclear facilities, they've had interaction with our nuclear weapons, they've interfered with, and they are possibly a threat to our way of life. You're going to hear it all start to come out, and that's what they're doing right now with this disclosure.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I just have to interrupt right here and say,
go ahead.
None of that was true, guys. They have never ever used those words.
What? What words?
All those words you said, all of them.
Are you saying that they never said they were a threat?
All incursions into our operating spaces seriously. So, I mean, like everybody else here at the Defense Department, certainly we are taking the entire matter seriously as it regarding the potential for safety. For safety concerns.
All of the disclosures happen for one of two reasons. The first reason is that we find out that another country is doing surveillance, and our country doesn't want them to know that we know about them. The other reason is just when we found out like something crazy, like, okay, yes, there's a UFO, they go investigate, and if they found it. But there was never an incident like that. What happened?
What? There was so many incidents like that.
You're right. And if you guys watching right now, look really deeply and look specifically not at the words that the media or the outlet is using in the article, but the words in the quotes. You won't find one single quote where they explicitly say UFOs are real, that they found them, that they're anything more than...
No, they won't. Not in the media. Listen...
Then where does this come from? Who are we trusting? Who are we believing?
I mean, I would trust the very private and clandestine documents that went back and forth between agencies, presidents at one point.
Let's talk about it.
And we're going to talk about a lot of those. But listen, I made this little video based on I'm a student and fan and practitioner of Dr. Stephen Greer. And, I just spent a weekend with him in Arizona, under the stars, seeing UFOs, because you can learn how to do a meditation called CE5, Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, which puts you in this remarkably coherent, open-hearted state. And then you connect with our celestial family, and they show up for you. The success rate of people who go out in these groups of making contact is remarkable. So you don't even need to be a believer.
All you have to do
is have an open mind.
How much is this session?
It was like $300 for the whole weekend.
No way. It was only $300.
Yeah.
How many people came out?
Well, let's see. The first one, there was about 650. And then this last one, I think there was only about 400.
Damn, so he's making money. You see,
I mean, most of that money goes to the hotel, but you're staying in 3 days at a hotel casino. So
no, that's actually a really good rate. It sounds like a great fictitious.
I mean, yeah, because in the middle of the desert in Arizona on Native American land, he's got this incredible orchestrated light show that just appears at random. Yeah, because that must be what's happening.
Dude, they literally, the company that flies up like 600 drones and makes shapes in the skies, literally based out of Arizona. Faust, let's think about it. Guys, viewers, Faust may not agree with me, but wouldn't you guys agree that if you could make like $300,000 over a weekend by putting like 8 drones like 200 meters away from everyone in the dark and just having them flash some lights?
Listen, let me tell you something about being in the middle of the desert, dude. If one aircraft goes by, even if it's like 50 miles away. It sounds like you are sitting on the runway.
But I've flown
Every
drones in the
single,
desert. You don't
it is
hear
so
them.
quiet in the desert. If you were to fly a drone,
You wouldn't hear it.
you would hear it.
How
It
far-
would be like absurd. I mean, the aircraft are so thunderously loud that you just can't wait for the traffic to die down so you could really be in the quiet of the desert. You couldn't fly one drone out there, let alone a fleet, not in a million years, not with the technology they're using today.
Sure.
But listen, I prepared this thing. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I made this little video that I put together that really summarizes what I believe about what is happening and what we were just talking about, and I think it would be worth showing, just kind of to set the stage about where I'm at and where I think a lot of my peers are at with our current belief system. I mean, I can show. It's only like 3.5 minutes long. Let me share my screen. Hold on.
Humans, marketing, branding.
Optimize for
Millions of dollars of books sold.
Millions of dollars of books.
Earlier this week, the New York Times and Politico revealed the existence of a secret government program to investigate UFO sightings.
It was especially focused on encounters by members of the military, like this one experienced by a U.S. Navy pilot off the coast of California.
There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA. My gosh.
Notice how its position is not moving, like a smudge on a camera or an artifact.
Watched Unacknowledged?
What is Unacknowledged?
You gotta watch Unacknowledged.
What is that one?
Okay, you gotta watch Unacknowledged.
What is it?
This guy's done more drugs than anyone.
Is that Stephen Greer movie?
Caused a reaction within the intelligence community of the United States. And so what the major media has begun to do is to cooperate with the intelligence community in reporting all this information out.
Media,
this peculiar spin, very subliminal at this stage, that it's a threat.
The project was called the Advanced Aviation Threat Identification Program, run by an official named Luis Elizondo.
I think this is a national security imperative. We have clear things that we do not understand how they work, operating in areas that we can't control.
One of my first cases
coming out of law school
very famous
was for NBC to establish the right of journalists to protect their confidential news sources. I did the amicus briefs for the New York Times and the Washington Post and also for CBS and ABC. And it was at that time that I began to realize that there was this close working relationship between the board of editors of the New York Times and the national security community. There's conversations going on all the time between the board of editors and the national security people.
You're supporting me, Faust.
And we actually got an affidavit from Teddy Sorensen saying that, oh yes, the national security state, the CIA, and everybody consult regularly with the New York Times to get them not to tell information about covert operations that we're engaged in. I was surprised to find that out at that point. I began to do an investigation about this as the lawyer for the Times now and for NBC, and found out that there were 42 full-time Central Intelligence Agency or NSA people employed by the major national news media. And they had a whole entire project called Project Mockingbird. And that they were deeply embedded with the major national news media. And they were constantly, from their point of view, safeguarding the information that was going to be allowed to get out. And it was quite clear that they viewed themselves as all part of the same basic fraternity. They all shared in the patriotic vision of the Central Intelligence Agency, being able to go around the world. The thing we had the biggest challenge with on the Pentagon Papers case is they didn't want to reveal the fact that there was a massive assassination program going on, and it was being funded by heroin trafficking. You know, to keep it away from the congressional funding investigations, etc. I thought this was a terribly newsworthy thing to tell about, but it was beyond the pale. That was not to be talked about here. You know, you can talk about how bad the Vietnam War was, and even the fact that they lied about the Bay of Tonkin to establish a planetary government. And there's nothing that is going to motivate the creation of a one-world government like the discovery of an...
This is why they're saying there's a threat.
Standing in front of the United Nations. They said it right out.
Perhaps we need some outside universal threat.
Why would he say that?
I occasionally think how
everyone should listen to this speech.
Our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat.
Alien threat? Did he just say that to the whole world?
He was silly enough to say that's part of his naivete. But the fact is that is their agenda.
He said the word if.
Legendary still becoming a whistleblower and legal counsel for the Disclosure Project in 2001.
It's helpful, of course, for them to say, "Oh, UFOs are real." That's quite helpful.
They
We've been
did
trying to
not.
get people to understand that now for the last
Of course
30
they did.
years.
No,
But
they did
it's
not.
all immediately wedded to this fact that they're this horrible threat. And so we have to come forward with a positive set of programs, a positive vision for this, and that's what I'm trying to help get the Vatican and the Jesuit order
Good luck with that,
involved in.
Sheehan.
And
Good luck
putting
with that.
You know, a
You're gonna need
discussion
it.
about the theological and philosophical challenges that this presents to us, but it's not a national security threat. You know, it's not a threat to our species. It's not a threat to our planet. It's a threat to our view as ourselves as the.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So
That's
it's interesting that you cut it off there. Not interesting that you were like trying to hide something or anything. So I agree with every single thing said in that video. I even agree with that part where he said UFOs are real, just because. Okay, I'm gonna break down my whole point with this right now, guys. My theory overall is that the very idea of UFOs and the like everything we know, when someone asks you, why do you think UFOs are real? And you say, because of this, this, and this, those things you say, whether it's like someone like Faust, who's very well researched, who knows about Kinross, Roswell, freaking what happened with Robert Salas, the doctor up in Big Sur, all these little incidents in extreme detail. But here's the issue. It's that the media, in my opinion, has created all of this. And I think that if we weren't interested in UFOs, like if we didn't see that word and want to click on it, that nobody would even be talking about UFOs now, let alone 20 years ago. And I know that's a pretty crazy radical statement to say, for sure. I'm basically saying that like we've never had UFOs and everything is a media marketing creation. Well, so is the value of diamonds. And you grow up knowing that you have to buy your husband and or wife in standard settings a diamond ring. This is that in practice. And it's freaking mind-blowing, guys.
But that doesn't make sense because they're not selling anything.
So listen, yes, they are in a way. In my perspective, the only bad actors and manipulators here, let's take like these authors writing their books out of it for a second, or people making documentaries. Let's purely talk about the government versus the media here, right? The media, for the most part, they never explicitly say, like all the official outlets, like New York Times of the world, the legitimate guys. If you look very carefully at these articles, they will write them in a way that connects the dots for you. And I'm going to bring up very specific examples. In one of the articles I was reading about the recent Pentagon hearings with UFOs, they introduced the main speaker as the Pentagon representative, right? And they say like the Pentagon representative and his two officials who came with them. Then they reintroduce them the following line with their titles being Department of Defense Counterterrorism Unit, the Deputy Director of Naval Intelligence and Defense for Intelligence and Security, and the Defense Department.
So what's wrong with those?
So here's what I'm saying. Those titles had nothing to do, had very little to do with the reason they were in the room representing the Pentagon. What's really interesting to me about it is by reiterating those titles when they then introduce the UFO aspect, in your brain, it sort of connects the two ideas of terrorism, UFOs, counterterrorism, UFOs. And I'm sure you would agree with this, Faust, because you often talk about how the military will try to paint them as this violent thing, right?
Well, yeah, I shouldn't say the military, but yeah, I know what you mean.
The media, right? So it's really interesting. If you do some more digging, then I like looked at it as a study of journalistic integrity, and they walk that fine line beautifully. It's as if a bunch of journalists got in a room and said, "Hey, how do we go all in on this UFO thing, but sound official as hell still? And they executed that so beautifully. It's crazy. Like when you look through this.
So, but
sorry, one thing.
Okay, go ahead.
They keep saying national security threat. And I know that this is going to be kind of like a long jump to make, but if you're truly interested, I'd love for everyone to try to look at like the original articles put out by the New York Times and try to follow my story, right? What I'm seeing is that the military said that, as Faust pointed out, they ran a bunch of campaigns to kind of make the idea of UFOs, UAOs, whatever it is.
UAPs, yeah.
UAPs seem like silly, right? And it worked, and it worked so well that the pilots and Department of Defense officials, I can pull up quotes from like the head of Department of Defense stating this. They started looking at this as being so silly that 144 out of 400 reports were basically just looked at. It was kind of like someone says, hey, go check out this UFO. And they either didn't really investigate, or they did investigate and handed it off to the DOD official, who wouldn't submit the report because he doesn't want his buddy in the DOD across the hall to be like, dude, you submitted a freaking UFO report. What is this, 1962? And I know that sounds like a crazy story, but no, word for word, that's actually what they said. I can pull up the quote right here. They said there's simply a number of events we have no explanation.
It's called plausible deniability. So
no, it's not. It's called the media manipulating a narrative, because
no doubt.
You won't find so during that same interview with all of those heads of the naval intelligence, counterterrorism, the media came out and they asked them, hey, we heard that there were some non-terrestrial vehicles. Do you know what happened? They shut it down immediately, and they said, hey, that's not the point of this discussion.
That's right. It's not. They don't want people focusing on that. They don't want you to know about the technology they've hidden. They want you to know about the threat.
No. It's way simpler than that. Basically, all of these soldiers found UFOs in the very concept of them, the pilots who are finding them or who are hearing reports. They found it so silly that it caused 11 national security incidents, where out of those 144, we had 11 breaches of foreign aviation technology that basically breached our airspace. The head of counterterrorism and the guys who are head of security basically stated that, word for word, this was a data problem. The national security threat was soldiers and pilots not doing their jobs and not taking UFOs seriously. So it caused 11 incidents where actual security threats with real living, like a B-52 bomber from another country flying overhead, or a surveillance drone, and sometimes we can't explain it. Sometimes it's just like a smudge on a camera, like actually though, a smudge on a camera.
Or not, yeah.
It is for the most part, or even like chromatic aberration or a flare, but you won't find a single quote or a single piece of evidence that we've ever recovered, even a piece of a UFO.
No, correction, Nick. We won't find one that you'll believe is genuine, but we'll find plenty that exist. And
I mean,
the only question is whether they are and can be verified as authentic. Because as I'll show you,
that a farmer in the middle of Nebraska is our freaking beaming, like,
you are showcasing your brainwashing, my friend. I just quoted President Truman from a press conference that he gave to America in 1950.
You manipulated the narrative just like the media did. His exact words were,
I can assure you that flying saucers, given they exist, are not constructed by any power on Earth. He said those exact words.
He said, if they exist.
No.
He started, yes.
Dude, I will get the fucking quote.
Bring it up.
I can assure you that flying saucers, given that they exist, are not constructed by any power.
That they exist, guys, this is what I'm trying to point out. You will never see a single member of the government say they exist. And you're
what you just did.
No, he didn't. He said if they exist. He was
no, he didn't. You are fucking adding the if. He did not use an if.
Play it.
I mean, I have it written down. I don't know if
Play
they.
it.
All right, I'll try and find it. Maybe they recorded it.
No. The video you played earlier. The exact quote. He says, "If an alien."
I was reading the quote.
No. I'm talking about the video you played. Well, wasn't that Reagan talking?
Oh yeah, that was Reagan.
I'm sorry. I was thinking of a different quote. My bad. I was talking about that quote.
Okay. Well, I have that quote too right here. Hold on. My Adobe is like, no, we don't want you looking at alien quotes online.
But guys, this is great proof. Both quotes have a qualifier. If an alien threat, then it exists. Because it doesn't exist. Because
President Gerald Ford
in the 50s or 60s used UFOs in a speech, that was the equivalent of them doing the Dougie on stage now. Like, that was cool. That's
President Gerald Ford. This is one of that qualifies with what you're saying. Now, the previous two do not have that, but President Gerald Ford said, I strongly recommend that there be a commitment to investigation of the UFO phenomenon. I think we owe it to the people to establish credibility regarding UFOs and to produce the greatest possible enlightenment on this subject. So there's a qualifier right there. Okay. But
couldn't you see that qualifier supporting my story though as well, with him saying that we're not taking this shit seriously? So actual security events are happening with actual like real aviation technology. Because wouldn't you agree that when the government uses UFO, sometimes it's flying saucer, but oftentimes it's just identified object that we're not sure what that was. And it's just kind of like a gap in intelligence. It's the government will, so I will like respect what Faust is saying. Like, yeah, sometimes you hear quotes about UFOs and my mind will jump to a flying saucer, but the government has never, ever, nobody has ever shown flying saucers, extraterrestrial stuff, anti-gravitational technology. Could a metal like piece of a plane have broken off and fallen in the ocean in American airspace? Yeah, sure. We can call that a UFO, but does it have anything to do with technology that we don't have and understand and didn't come from this earth and human beings? No, it's all from us. There's no shred of anything that proves it. And if you can believe in that without proof, then you're a believer, my friend.
I'm going to show you some proof that you can give or take. Okay, so J. Edgar Hoover said, but this is from, I can't prove this. It's on a handwriting. It's a handwriting thing. Okay. Senator Barry Goldwater said, I made an effort to find out what was in the building at Wright-Patterson Air Force. Oh, that doesn't mention UFOs.
That's right. It doesn't, does it? Because there is not a single quote that says anything of substance, guys. Show me one non-constructed thing. I will admit that the closest thing that gets to like a shred of UFOs or aliens is the Majestic 12 papers, which were proven false because they're all false, guys. Every single one of them. All of them.
I have a whole thing here. So I mean,
let's break them down one by one. I can explain everything, Faust.
You definitely can't, but that's beside the point. So what I want to show you guys is this is how far back this goes. Okay. Nick's talking about there's been such an abundance of evidence. I found, and so I've been trying to figure out, because I know from all my research and from talking to so many people that the Roswell incident was not the first of its kind, and that craft was in all likelihood brought down.
What craft? The one they didn't recover?
The UFO that they recovered.
People claim,
and
no
so
one recovered.
And so my whole question was, how the fuck did the humans figure out and come up with technology that was good enough to scramble a UFO enough to bring it down, right?
They didn't.
It never made sense to me, right? And then I found these documents, and I want to show you one of them right now.
No, let's see all of them. Why'd you say?
Well, I'm going to show you all of them, but the first one,
the other 6, not support your case.
This is from 1944. Franklin D. Roosevelt memo on non-terrestrial science and technology. So it was February 22nd, 1944. Franklin D. Roosevelt wrote, and this, they used to use the code double top secret. It's a little much, but it was a memo. It's on a White House stationery for the Special Committee on Non-Terrestrial Science and Technology. Now, both the title and the content clearly allude to extraterrestrial life. Okay.
Allude.
The former using
your brain to
this is when they said
connections that
non-terrestrial. This was before extraterrestrial became a coined phrase. And this, you're going to see the latter talks about coming to grips with the reality that our planet is not the only one harboring intelligent life in the universe. And remarkably, the last 4 words are exactly Carl Sagan's book that he co-authored. Figured he stole that, but so this is the situation that I learned in this memo. There was a crash in 1941, and that was the first time they recovered this kind of technology, and they started reverse engineering from there, and that's how they came up with the technology for the bomb. That's how they came up with the technology to bring down that saucer in 47, so that when they finally got a chance to use this technology, they had recovery teams ready. That's why it wasn't that big of a surprise. They knew where to go and what they were going to do, right? So
guys, this story is more discredited than Floyd Mayweather's reading ability. This story, like, we haven't seen such a unsubstantiated
I'm going to show you the document right now
of unrelated garbage since the opioid crisis.
So you're going to see. So apparently, the Special Committee on Non-Terrestrial Science and Technology had been working on this sometime to define a clear action when this was happening. And so there's a Dr. Bush. There's that name again. Dr. Bush. I think it's
the one you trust. Are you saying you trust the Bush? Are you trusting Bush?
No, but this is a private letter between the president and the chief of sciences. So Bush presumably presented a proposal from the committee for an aggressive separate program to apply non-terrestrial know-how that they were acquiring to the war effort. But FDR thought that this would threaten the atomic bomb program. That's what you're going to see in this document I'm about to show you. Thus, what's his name? Sorry, I'm losing my place because my contacts are.
No. Wait, pause.
Oh, FDR carefully avoids the issue. He says no, and he says take advantage of the wonders that have come to us after we win this war. That's what he tells Bush. He wanted them focused on the bomb that they were making. So, very gracious letter. Relate? This classification of double top secret was a legitimate one. That was proved.
Yes, proved. Because it was about the bomb. That's exactly why.
And the signature that on this letter, although it's not a strong discriminant, is consistent with other authentic signatures from FDR. Okay,
I completely believe it because they're talking about the bomb during the war. It has to be double classified. That's just like normal intelligence. You're not going to let out a letter talking.
So if you want to see that document, I have it right here. I can share my screen.
What are you saying the document tells us?
The document tells us that even at 1944, we had already recovered craft. We were already reverse engineering ET technology, even at that point, and that that FDR knew it, and of course the Bush, the warmongers were like, we need to apply this, and he was like, focus on the bomb. Let's end the war.
Guys, I'm gonna discredit this document in the comments faster than the president threw away the memos about them on his desk.
Anyway, so I found that this document, which appears legit, and I found it on this incredible website called the Majestic Documents.
That sounds like a very
Majestic Documents. And so they go through and they show you how all the ways they've attempted to authenticate the originals and the chain of, what do you call it? Like where it came from, who brought it, how it came into the public arena, whether it was leaked.
Are we talking about a piece of paper or are we talking about a digital file? Because with a digital file, you can tell.
Well, we're talking about the original, like everything from the type on the font to the signatures, everything about the original files that was analyzed, right? Because we obviously they don't have. I know. Well, that is the problem.
Actually, you can't analyze guys. I love Pawn Stars. I watch that shit all the time, and I know for a fact you can't.
No, you're right. That is a problem. But I'm just saying the letter is remarkable in its language and the year that it was. I was shocked to learn that there was And so I found this other one that I'm going to surprise Nick with. He's going to be like, what the fuck?
I will not, guys. Nothing surprises me. Each one of these comes with a caveat. It's like, oh, but they didn't understand that planes could fly at the time.
If you guys want to read these, I saved all these documents, which I think my computer is going haywire right now because of it. They're probably red flagged out the wazoo. But these documents are all on majesticdocuments.com, spelled just the way it sounds. And they have this huge cache of official UFO investigations. So I found this other one, which is a letter from Oppenheimer, right? It's a 6-page document titled Relationships with Inhabitants of Celestial Bodies, right? This is the first document to use the phrase extraterrestrial biological entities, which people in the UFO community know stands for EBEs, that is a very common.
Or could it also include channelers too?
No, this is before people started channeling.
That's assuming we didn't have channelers. We did have some form of that. Can we assume that these could be really good actors? Could you admit that that's a possibility?
I don't know. When you see who's writing this, I mean, Oppenheimer's writing this. This is the guy working on the
like banker Oppenheimer.
No, like bomb maker.
Oppenheimer.
Yeah, the Oppenheimer. Yeah.
Okay.
And it says that the presence of unidentified spacecraft is accepted by de facto by the military at this time. This is dated.
He would never write that letter.
June in 47, and it deals with the subjects that you would expect competent scientists like him to deal with. Where do they come from? What do we do in the event that must be an integration of them? Why are they coming now? The document suggests that EBE's desire to settle here on Earth could be a profound change. And obviously they're jumping. They don't know if anyone's going to see settling here, but this is the conversation that's happening.
Here's my problem. Have you ever seen or heard of a billionaire writing a letter like such a beta mail? Like that's the one I'm thinking, like, oh, I'm scared. There's people coming from galaxies. Oppenheimer has $1 billion. He'll build a spaceship and blast it away. His ego will fill 4 ballrooms and have sex with itself and make ego children. Like, this is Oppenheimer. I feel like it's
check this out. Einstein's on this letter too. This is so cool.
This is getting less credible by the second.
No. Check this out. Hold on. You got to see this letter, man. This is crazy. This is so cool. I found this. Hold on.
Please. Let me see. I'm going to pull up Einstein's.
Check this out.
Handwriting.
Well, no. Well, look. Let me just show you. Okay.
There's no.
This is the thing. 1947, the draft. So, relationships with extraterrestrial men presents no basically new problems. So I'm just going to scroll down because it's 6 pages, but you can see that if it's a fake, it's pretty well done. And so what this website does is it goes through and tells you all the ways that they attempted to authenticate the font, the way it was worded, every little thing that you would do.
So guys, I'm going to give you a trick.
Like as a movie producer, I would tell you that, I would go through this document and I would make sure that to make sure the production integrity is as absolutely impeccable as possible. I would say, look, this font would never be used, or I would go through and make sure that everything.
Thank you. That's honestly what I was going to say. So guys, I pulled up documents from 1947 and Faust is right. This font has never been used. We can
I was using that as an example. But
no, and Faust, that was exactly what I wanted to say. Because as you were saying that, I was looking up 1947 documents. So 2 big giveaways, guys. If you look up 1947 documents, those exact words in Google.
Look, Einstein too.
Wait, Faust, just one moment. You can write whatever you want. Like, at the end of the day, we're looking at letters that have very jagged edges. You see like the jagged edges along those letters. That's usually the case when you're editing an image and you're raising the contrast and like basically editing a lot on Photoshop or of a program. But that's besides the point, guys. Just look up 1947 letters in quotes. Tell me how many white papers this bright bleach white you find. And that should answer alone whether this is real or not. #Skeptic gang.
Wow, look how this is so fascinating. We should
Wait, no,
consider
the
the
word is
possibility
fake.
that our atmospheric tests, they were fucking nuking the.
They weren't, guys. We've proved this is a fake document.
No, we haven't.
There's no way this is real. We have Faust. It's bleach white. Like, so okay. Let's take the case then that the person who scanned this decided to raise contrast and edit it for like legitimacy, right? Why is such an old document piece of paper have no folds or wrinkles? This is 1947.
Dude,
for some reason, like even guys, like scan a piece of paper in your computer with the best technology we have to date, and but like leave it out just in your room for a month. Tell me if there's no wrinkles. Tell me, oh, see, this already looks fake as well. Where's the wrinkles? Where's that shadowing and those like that noise we were in the edges of the last image? Boom, we have another fake. Tell me this is the majestic 12 papers.
Dude, what I mean, I don't even know what this is, but the extraordinary recovery of fallen airborne objects in the state of New Mexico between July 6th, 1947. Summary prepared by Headquarters Interplanetary Phenomenon Unit, Scientific and Technical Branch, Counterintelligence.
I believe with you. This looks real. It says fallen airborne object. In other words, it says nothing. Like there's again no aliens, no UFOs, no flying saucers.
So you guys got to check this document out too. This is pretty amazing.
Guys, check out
this is one of the biggest
document.
Bombshells that
guys,
was.
I will offer my own money if any of you can give me. I won't say one because maybe there's outliers. Anyone who gives me 3 documents in the comments that I can legitimize, that I can see it, and we can see that a person in a highly credible scenario, so like a person with a role that befits their honesty, a military general,
astronaut, maybe.
Let's say an astronaut, sure. Just like things that like you could show the average person and they go, okay, I trust this guy, right? That's one. That's rule number 1. Rule number 2, they have to explicitly say that they found or saw a photograph of a UFO or of a phenomenon that we do not understand and or can explain.
I saw this illumination that was moving with respect to the stars. We were smart enough to not say, Houston, there's a light out there that's following us. So technically it becomes an unidentified flying object.
While Neil and Buzz were on the lunar surface, Neil switched to the medical channel and spoke directly with the chief medical officer, saying, they're here, they're parked on the side of the crater, they're watching us.
So,
wow.
Wait, can you go back? I need to hear no, sorry, don't close it. I want to hear the last 5 seconds again.
All right, hold on.
Sorry, I checked out in the first part.
An unidentified flying object.
While Neil and Buzz were on the lunar surface, Neil switched to the medical channel and spoke directly with the chief medical officer, saying, they're here, they're parked on the side of the crater, they're watching us.
Okay.
That's what he said.
So
I guess he was confused.
Yeah. So that's, but Faust.
Wow.
Yes, yeah, sure. I'm taking the easy argument out, and I probably look foolish, but guys, let me just say, think about how fucking crazy it is for any human in the world to land on the moon for the first time. You're landing on a place.
Trained for it.
Wait. You're landing on a place where we don't even know how the atmosphere affects our brain. They have no oxygen there. They could not breathe without fabric suits on their bodies. And we're going to say that guy was in his right mind. And he's yeah, there's aliens on the moon. That's why all the rovers who've landed since haven't been able to find them. You see, guys,
what rovers?
These are the conclusions we will jump to. And this is why I'm so confident. And honestly, guys, I'll extend this challenge. Like, so let me make the criteria a little bit more specific. I won't accept a blurry photo of the moon with them taking some Photoshop like blue colors and just like splashing it on there in the shape of a spaceship. Guys, I can do that. It's called marketing, and that's how you get the clicks, and that's how these people make money. They're monsters. They're delusional, fairy tale crafting monsters. But honestly, like, if you want to believe their lies, I will accept any evidence that explicitly states from an official person, the president, the Pope, no one else really.
The Pope has admitted that ETs are in existence.
Sure. For him, an extraterrestrial is a praying mantis. He hardly goes outside, Faust.
Okay, but they do now have their own they have their own extraterrestrial board that they have meetings with.
That we all found nothing.
You don't think that means anything? Even the Vatican is like, okay, we have people on this. It doesn't mean anything. I mean, I guess look, I'm not saying the Vatican does anything that's
guys, so
honest
I found something
or in anyone's interest, but even they are like, well, we should get ready because it's happening.
Whether or not lies are happening, the incentive does exist. Like, I'm not saying this because I have this crazy idea and I want to be stubborn about it. No, it's because every single case has some kind of financial motive. Go to the Big Sur case with Robert Salas, someone who you will see as like a government official working at his job and saw a UFO. But look deeper and you'll see his supervising engineer put out an article that says, he didn't have
a debunking article.
It's not a debunking article. It's
a lot of jargon. It's a lot of
put it this way.
Logistical nonsense about shit that no civilian could ever know. It's a perfect cover article.
And I agree, but let's put it. No, I don't agree because I did further digging and I don't like this idea of, a civilian doesn't understand science, so it's not true. Guys,
no, I'm not saying that, but it's a lot of jargon. It's a lot of technical jargon.
You're right. And I agree with this. So I did further digging. And I found out George A. Kingston, the supervising engineer behind that incident, he put out an article that systematically broke down every claim, why the guy may have believed that he saw what he said he saw, and the reason why his security clearance wasn't high enough to know what actually happened, which was a missile malfunction that was actually a security risk for other nations.
Right, I read that. Yeah, I mean, that's...
Interesting thing. Hold on. I need to pull up this
one case. Guys, so Nick and I, for context, tell them what we were. So we had a big debate because I was telling Nick that there's been a lot of documentation about UFOs appearing at our nuclear sites, specifically at some of the launch sites, and deactivating our weapons, sometimes in mid-launch, sometimes when they were in the air. And there's been more than one a military whistleblower to come forward and speak about how, we saw it. And so one of them, the one I sent to Nick, probably one of the most outspoken guys, Nick found a lot of dirt on. And
not dirt. He wasn't lying. He just
didn't understand.
It's kind of like you see some crazy shit that you just don't understand. Imagine like seeing a lightning bolt. I found out this week, guys, that there's these little lightning balls that walk our streets, kind of like balls of lightning plasma. And if humans have contact with them, we die. They're real. Like, that's an example of a crazy nature phenomenon that this guy saw. Imagine you're in the shoes of someone who sees a bright flashing light and you might have saw a UFO, and then the government rushes you and says, hey, you're going to shut up about this incident. We're not going to tell you anything, and you will not dig in or you're fired. I would think UFOs too. Yeah, like, I understand why he got to the conclusion he got to. But as the engineer explains, like, you're kind of like this 24-year-old dude who saw this crazy shit, and now everyone's saying, hey, shut up. You can't know what you saw.
That's what they always say to people who see that.
Sure.
Hey, shut up.
Sure. Hey, shut up, right? And I get why he got there, but we have an explanation for this. We have an explanation for everything.
Yeah, but not always, Nick, because I have massive testimony from people who worked for airlines, who have these UFOs on radar, and they said, "What do you mean you can't tell the public about this?" He says, "What do you mean?
Right.
Well, why not?" He said, "Because they'll shit their pants." And he says,
because them adding that comment to your Instagram page gets them 8 likes, and those 8
this
likes.
This is way before Instagram. I'm talking about like 20, 30 years.
Sure.
of people who work on radar at
you've known
airports.
some conspiracy theorists, Faust. Like we gotta be honest about that one.
I mean, this dude he's from Boston. He was the head. He was in charge of the airport.
He was, and
he just happened to save the radar.
Just listen. I want to bring up as someone who I want to call out. I hope you're watching this person, Robert L. Hastings, a slimy, disgusting rat-like human who takes advantage of veterans to create to create formulaic lies for his novels. But honestly, Robert, if you're watching this, you are a marketing genius, my friend. You really make it believable. What this guy did, Faust, he's the author who worked with Robert Salas, or I think his name was Robert Salas, the deputy who witnessed the thing at Big Sur.
Yeah.
He's also the very author who came out and traveled across the country interviewing over 150 veterans. So I thought that from a marketing and branding perspective in this, what was it, in the 70s or the 60s? Dude, this guy, oh, no.
67,
actually,
yeah.
It was actually, I think the book was written in 2000. The original incident, I believe, was
67,
reported,
right?
No. The original incident was actually reported in 1992, and then it was contested by George Kingston in 1993. Then a bunch of skeptics basically said, yo, this guy probably didn't understand. Then this guy right here, freaking Robert Hastings, finds the guy who reported the Big Sur UFO in 2002, I believe. He interviews him and he goes across America interviewing 150 veterans. And I don't want to call Robert a liar. I don't want to say he manipulated the interviews, but he would have made a lot of money if he manipulated the interviews. Like, let's be honest. He got 150 people across the country together to all say, yeah, we might have seen a UFO here. And honestly, if an individual does that, that's a great ass way to sell 1 million copies of a book. And that's a really good motivation to try to do that. And Robert, I'm not saying that you're a liar, but I think you are. And like, whether or not it happened, it was very suspicious to me that you then went out and that you build your career around this strategy of sprinkling in details of I know the plethora of lies and unsubstantiated details you added to your UFO nukes book that just have no basis whatsoever. We can go through them another time, but I don't want to give any attention to such blatant lies to make money for this hypocritical rat.
Right.
Anyways, guys, I feel like an asshole right now. The point is that, like, we shouldn't look at UFOs and say that we found aliens or whatever. I'll pay you $100 if you give me 3 cases, guys. Just find me things I can't disprove. I won't even be a dick about it. If you can find something that I really can't disprove, 3 cases, $100 on the spot. This offer is open forever. So if it's 2050 and an alien horde visits us with their new light year technology from another world, I will be bankrupt for life, Faust, but it won't happen because I'm that confident that we've never found aliens. We never will in our lifetimes. And I would love for us to, but it's just not going to happen because prove me wrong, guys. Prove me wrong.
There's some incredible people on the forefront of true disclosure and the most important thing to remember is that the only reason why these technologies and the truth about UFOs has been hidden is because of greed, because of what they would do. Like, so first of all, if in 1941, or let's just say 1947, even at the latest, if Roswell was actually the first incident, which I don't believe it was, if these technologies came out, there would have been no need for the oil industry there would have been no need for the petrodollar, the fossil fuel industry, even nuclear power. It would all be obsolete because these energies are totally clean. They don't run on anything destructive. You don't have to split the atom. You don't have to torch the gasoline.
Seen this technology. It doesn't even exist. How can you say that?
So what I want you guys to know is that the technology does exist, and people have been witness to it. And there are really thousands of people working with it and on it underground in America.
There aren't. Tell me one. Give me one name.
What Dr. Stephen Greer is doing right now as we speak is
he's working underground on anti-gravitational technology.
Can I finish talking?
I'm sorry.
He's preparing a new documentary called The Lost Century and How We Retrieve It. And on October 25th, he's actually doing a keynote presentation that will be featured in the documentary. And he has collected a massive amount of evidence, whistleblowers, people who have worked on these unacknowledged, deep black op projects underground. He's actually been working with some people in Washington to change the laws to protect these people. He's been saying for over a decade that if you worked on one of these projects and you signed an NDA, it's still the NDA is useless because it's illegal. The project is illegal. So you don't. And so, but he didn't know that for fact. You know, he was always saying, if you come, we will try and protect you. But he recently got some laws passed with the legislators he was working with to protect whistleblowers legally, so that when they come forward. So he said that since they got that passed, that was in February this year, they've had a whistleblower who has worked on these projects come out at least once a week. And he's been getting massive amounts of testimony from people who have worked at Skunk Works, Lockheed, all these, Los Alamos, these underground bases that are doing things that really, truly, I'm learning most people could never imagine would be true. Never. It's really stuff out of science fiction.
So let me quickly counter.
But that's let me finish. Tuesday, October 25th. If you guys want to join that lecture, go to Dr. Greer's website. It's seriousdisclosure.com. Serious. If you want, I'm definitely going to be tuning into it. Serious Disclosure, like the stars. .com. SIR.
Serious. Oh, so that's serious, like SIRIUS?
SIRIUS. Exactly. Yeah.
Cool.
Check it out. I'm going to watch it because I think it's going to be incredible.
I will be shitting on the man live, guys, because I want to bring this up. This is the very issue I'm talking about. And I kind of just want to release a warning for the future because it's going to get worse. When people hear a story or an idea, just as Faust exhibited in the last 3 minutes, he says the words people, whistleblowers, instances, incidents, reports. And I asked him in the middle of that, I interrupted him 4 times. I said, give me a name or an incident. And he didn't.
Emery Smith.
We'll talk about him in the comments. My point is this, guys. We're headed into an era where right now, I'm sure all of you have seen Midjourney, artificial intelligence. I'm sure you've seen the new release of Dream Studio, which Faust, we have to make a video about it. You can take photos of yourself from 5 angles. Then you can type, put me on a pirate ship next to Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, and it'll get a perfect image of you.
Aren't you a little young for Tobey Maguire Spider-Man? Don't we need at least to go to, what's that Brit's name?
I don't like Tom Holland. Sorry guys, you're probably gonna hate me even more. Tom Holland Spider-Man.
I like Garfield.
Not accurate. We did not have this optimistic, bubbly Spider-Man. Maybe
no,
later.
Never, dude. You're absolutely right about that. That's for sure.
But regardless, so my issue with all this, guys, is this second I see someone I can trust talking about this, admitting this from the shadows, kind of it reminds me of, I'd love to see a what's his name, Jim Carrey. Remember when Jim Carrey sat down and said, guys, you have no idea how bad Hollywood is, these guys are monsters, and Dave Chappelle kind of had the same thing. When I see an unedited discussion like that, where someone comes out and really opens up about, because guys, if it was real, we would have one discussion like that, where we have someone in a dark room
I'm glad to
sitting
hear
in
you
front
say
of
that.
Stephen Colbert or freaking Conan.
Colbert.
Who's the guy who interviews everyone with the beard on Netflix? Forgot.
Letterman? No.
Letterman, yeah,
Yeah,
David
yeah.
Letterman. They would be sitting there with Letterman, and
Okay.
guys,
I think you're going to see that in the next few years.
come out, and how many from the point smartphones came out to now, and all the history before? Why aren't we talking about how the UFO incidents have slowed to a halt and disappeared altogether? Because all these guys who write these books and make these videos are like, yo, it's getting kind of hard to trick people. We can't lie to people anymore because we have everyone with cameras everywhere. And that's what you'll see. You're going to see UFOs. Mark my words, 2050. If aliens come to our planet, you can name every single one of the aliens. Every 3 aliens, I'm paying out $100 on this video. That challenge is open forever, because it won't happen, and it won't, or at least it won't in our lifetimes. Guys, I'd love for it to happen. I'd love to go broke because aliens invaded our planet and did a mass migration. I'd probably honestly run to their world to try to escape the debt that
Help
you guys
me.
push
I
on
swear
me.
I always believed in you.
Exactly. I would run over. I'd be like, my friends, my comrades. Anyway,
Get
guys,
me off this
the
rock.
point is that AI is coming. We can now generate any image. I've learned that the ability to generate pretty much any voice has been around for a while.
Yeah, that's for
or
sure.
maybe it's a conspiracy. I do believe that.
No, I mean, you'd be shocked what has
For
been around for a
sure.
while.
Like,
Bruce Willis
it's
just
all
sold
data,
his
guys.
likeness so they can make
So-
him in movies now.
And that's
Bruce-
the problem, guys. If I'm sure all of you guys have seen Unreal Keanu at Unreal Jason Statham on TikTok. It's these perfect.
They call it deep fake technology because it truly is deep fake.
Yeah, it's mind
incredible.
blowing.
But listen, I want to say one thing to everyone
Go
who's
ahead.
listened thus far. When I first started getting into meditation years ago, I was trying to explain this to my mother-in-law earlier. You know, there's at some point in time when you begin to get into spirituality and have a practice and, you know, quiet your mind. I don't know when it happens, but there's just some line that you cross where you start to connect the dots between the astral and the celestial and realize that, you know, everything that's out there in the quote ether, you know, is truly interconnected, and that some of the way that these beings are traveling here is through this wave pattern of light that is considered what we would consider to be astral or in that same range, because we see such a minuscule amount with these eyes of ours, but truly most of reality is not what we can see or touch. It's not this density. It's really what most people would consider, quote, the metaphysical side of it. But that's just the word we put on things we don't really understand, consider woo-woo, but it's the rest of the wavelength. You know what I mean? If you just look at the wavelength of light and what we know about it, we can see and interpret this. I mean, minuscule isn't the word for what we. So what I want to tell everyone
the word
is
insignificant.
Yeah, very insignificant portion of it. But what I learned is that there's this incredible meditation practice called CE5, which stands for Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. And that's a human-initiated contact protocol that Dr. Greer developed, you know, in his own meditations. And so you don't need to pay anyone anything. You don't even need to find friends to do this with. You can literally do this in your own backyard just to see what happens. And it's just about putting yourself in a meditative, coherent state, having an open mind, but more importantly, an open heart, and just connecting. And so you're in a meditative state, but you're also, you know, you have to open your eyes to see. And then you show them where you are and you vector them in and connect with them. And then oftentimes you find yourself looking at this light that you cannot believe is there, and then it's going away, and you're like, oh no, come back. And then all of a sudden the light's coming back, and you're like, boy, am I hallucinating this? But you don't have to you can make contact. You can circumvent all this mess that's happening on the surface with disclosure and make contact yourself. You can become your own ambassador and begin your own dialogue, if you will, with these ET races. You have that power. So if you want to know the truth, you can seek it yourself. You don't have to wait for anyone to give it to you. You can make contact on your own with these protocols, and you don't need to pay anyone. You can learn about them on the internet and practice them yourself. Even better, get a group of friends and go out and see what happens, because the more powerful the signal, right? And you'll learn all about it if you look into it. So I'm just encouraging you all. I found out about this and I was like, what? You can meditate. And sure enough, you can. And you know, so go for it. Try it. It's amazing.
And I want to qualify what Faust is saying. Even as the skeptic who can't agree that you'll ever see a UFO, that you'll ever connect with another being outside of your own perspective, it is really interesting, because I think that I was just having this conversation today. Like, for a cool 10 years, I stopped watching like all entertaining, non-educational television. I kind of told myself I shouldn't waste my time. I spent so much time watching like this show and that show that I'm gonna watch documentaries, read books.
Right.
Cool, like year into it, I'm like, wow, I really need that brainless like zombie show once a week to kind of like displace myself. And as the skeptic, I don't like, I'm not judging anyone for believing in these things. I'm not disrespecting anyone for using these beliefs or the pursuit of this knowledge to try to because you enjoy it, to try to find something, to try to find truth, maybe just to escape like the shitty place you're in at the moment or in your life or wherever it is. The point is kind of just like, where I have a problem with it is when we say things like, oh, the US government has said that we have found UFOs and they're sitting in Area 51 right here. I find problems with that. I think that all of this higher consciousness is stupid? Not at all. Like, I think the work that like MindMed is doing, this company who's studying the potential of fungus, of cacti and all these things, I think that's completely untapped area, and we're going to discover so much. I just don't think it'll help us read each other's minds, but I do think it'll help us learn how to control the stress we feel, learn how to control the judgment of other people from the outside. And I think that, definitely there are companies out there. There have been like biopharma companies who would have loved to give us their pill forever and make money off that versus all these natural cures that are so good. But are UFOs real? Hell no, guys.
Listen, let us know what you think in the comments, guys. And look in the video description for some of the references we both made. You'll be able to find them there. And let us know, if you were swayed one way or the other, what you believed coming in, if you intend to check out the CE5 protocols and try and make contact yourself. I'd love to hear about it.
Really quick, before we end this podcast, can you tell me, did any person at that event make contact?
So the first time I went, we had a really, we must have seen, I couldn't believe it. Like, so I'm going to be straight up. Like, I had never seen a UFO in a physical presence before. I had connected many times in meditation, but and there's a way you can do that where you connect in meditation. And oftentimes what precedes the physical contact in these meditations is this is this spiritual or it's like a remote viewing connection. And that's kind of how you show them where you are. But the first weekend I went, there was like 60, there must have been 60 different ships. And one of them materialized really about, it had to be like 40 feet over. Oh, I don't know if it was there the whole time, and no one was looking except for me and my friend.
I believe that part.
And my twin brother and my friend Holly she was like,
guys, Faust has a twin.
Yeah, I have an identical twin too. She was like, look over there. And I was like, what? Everyone, we have to look. And she was like,
all three of you saw the same exact.
So, and this thing's just started. It's just started to
Wow.
illuminate.
So they have projectors.
And then everyone saw it, and everyone was like, "Oh!" And then they started looking, and I got my,
So
I got my camera out. But that was the only one that was on the ground. The rest were all over the place. And
guys, if you're watching and you'd love for me to come out to the next event to try to prove them wrong from the inside, infiltrating the inner circle of deception, leave us a comment because I would love to do it.
One last thing, if there's a great documentary called Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. It's a sequel to Unacknowledged. Probably a lot of you who are watching this may have seen it. It kind of went under the radar. I was supposed to go to the premiere of it, but then 2020 happened.
We're gonna go to the premiere?
I was gonna go to the premiere in Los Angeles, and I was gonna try to meet Dr. Greer then. But anyway, my point is this is like an incredible documentary that gives you massive detail about the meditation protocols, and you'll see a ton of video shot from people around the world getting together in groups and doing these meditations, and you just can't fake the excitement that you hear in all these languages. So check out that documentary.
You can fake it, guys.
There's a free copy on YouTube, but don't tell anyone.
I'm here to say that you can fake anything, you can edit anything, guys. You have believed stories that I have made that you do not know I have made, that you currently believe. That I am already manipulating you in ways that you do not know. So get skeptical and believe that everything is a lie, especially if money is involved.
All right, it's Saturday night. I hope you enjoyed. Chalk another one up for the victor. Let us know in the comments, guys. Thanks for joining us. We love you. Hey, bye, Nick.
Like your career, Chicho.